I'm really glad that my favorite game in this series is the one that had the fully Americanized title, so I don't have to try and pronounce the guy's Japanese name. Okay, time for me to get self-indulgent with another Why It's Awesome, and I'm going back to my own video gaming history, and I'm going to talk about The Legend of the Mystical Ninja. I believe the Japanese name, I'll take one crack at it, Goemon series, but this game is really something else. There's so much that I love about this game, and it's hard for me to even know where to start. First of all, I love the look of it. I love the visual aesthetic. The sprite work is great. They are big, they're colorful, they are cartoony, and they have so much personality. Both the primary sprites and the enemy sprites and the bosses, they're really inventive. And it's primarily broken into two main sections. You've got what I hesitate to call kind of an overworld section, but you've got the sort of structurally a little bit like the sort of final fight or Turtles in Time kind of thing, where you move up and down, and it's kind of pseudo 3D, and there are characters wandering around who you can kill, you can get, you can fight, you can kill, you can get coins, you can get stuff, and basically you can bum around town for a bit, because in any given sort of town there's going to be places to explore, things to find that will upgrade you for that level and make that level easier, give you more health. Upgrade your weapon, because you just start with this dinky little thing, you upgrade it, it's longer, you upgrade it from that, and you actually get kind of a ranged weapon out of it. But even that has a limited range. You want to go beyond that, you can throw your coins, which you will actually lose money, but you can hit characters from a complete distance, across the screen that way, if you're feeling like that's what you have to do. So there are things like that, and those are the kinds of things you can do in the overall. You can collect coins, you can upgrade, you can buy armor so that you can take some hits before you start losing life. You can buy foods that will bring back life if it runs out, and this is all stuff that you get to hold on to. So then the other sections are the platforming sections, which are basically, it's where stuff gets real, because the overworld, it's not impossible, but it's fairly hard to get killed in the sort of town overworld sections in most of the areas. Like, some of the later ones are a little tricky, but for the most part, the only reason there's enemies here is so you can kill them and get cash and whatever else you need. So it's not there for the challenge. The platforming sections are there for the challenge, where it becomes a straight 2D action platformer, and the music kicks up and is more intense. You got way more things you got to watch out for and avoid that are trying to kill, like, explicitly, because a lot of the quote unquote enemies in the towns, they're just kind of wandering, and if you bump into them you'll take damage. Not a lot of them actually come after you, but you get to the platform sections, very much not the case. And then of course there's the boss fights at the end of all those, and they are wide-ranging. You got a guy with a lantern for a head. You've got this giant floating head that just gets bigger and bigger and bigger every time that you hit it. You've got a big octopus, which is a bit more of a mini boss. You've got all these things. You've got these sort of sumo wrestlers. You've got the last boss, this guy on this thing firing all these arrows. You've got a dragon. It really runs the gamut. They're all really cool, with a lot of different tactics as to how to get at them, and that's where your coins are going to come in handy, in terms of hitting them that way, as opposed to trying to get up close, because getting up close to try and hit these guys, a lot of times not the easiest thing in the world. But it is fun, it is precise. There's a lot of, in the platforming section, there's a lot of fun done with perspective. There's a lot of rotating things. So like when something, like there'll be a pole and like there's a platform sticking out and it rotates around. Now when it goes behind, it won't hold you anymore. You'll fall off it. So you've got to be jumping up. So there's a lot of cool stuff done with perspective and sort of the Mode 7 capabilities of the Super Nintendo that just look cool. And the music is a lot of fun in this game. There's also a ton of mini games, most of which are used to earn money. There's a whack-a-mole game. There's this sort of very rudimentary maze. There's a sort of paint the wall game. There's a quiz game. There's later on you can play the first level of Gradius. There's all these little things, which I guess is something that is not especially atypical in Japanese, in like modern Japanese open world games, where their open world isn't so much about filling in the map and finding hidden stuff. It's more about, here's all the random little extra games that you can find and play if you feel like it. Yeah, I mean, I've run into that stuff in other games since. I remember Final Fantasy VII had all the weird mini games like the chocobo racing and the snowboard thing and stuff like that. So it's got a ton of that. It's also 2-player co-op. And so it's not the alternating. You're both on the screen at the same time. And one of the features that I think is super cool in the platform, whenever you do 2-player co-op in platforming, it can get very tricky, especially if one of you like knows the game better than the other, because you know what to avoid, you know what traps are coming up, and the other one just keeps dying. Well, there's a really cool thing you can do in this game. One character can jump onto the back of the other character, and whoever is on the bottom is doing the running and jumping, the other one's doing the attacking. So if you're playing with a friend and one of you knows the game better than the other, the one who's having more trouble in that section could just hop on their back and get piggybacked along so that you can both get to the boss, and you're not left fighting the boss solo because your companion didn't make it through the platforming bits. I think that's really cool, and I wish more games did something like that. Again, and it does hamper you slightly because now the other guy has to do the attacking, but I think that's a really cool option. And I never stop being tickled by that. And it's a cool image besides. It's just fun and funny. And that's kind of this game. This game became for me very much an unwinding game. You know, at the end of a day, if I just had a bit of time to kill in a weekend, like a couple of hours to fill, like I'll play a bit of Legend of the Mystical Ninja, because it's just fun and it's funny, and even when it's hard, I never got angry at it. I never got frustrated with it, and I have beaten this game all the way through, and so I don't think it's super duper hard, but there is some decent challenge to be had in it, and there's a surprising amount of depth for what is basically just a side-scrolling action platformer game. And just overall, the game feels like a product of a bygone era, because even these days when games sort of call back and get nostalgic for 16-bit, they get nostalgic for something real specific. You know, they go in for the shoot 'em up, the bullet hells, your Contras, your Castlevanias, your Mega Mans, your whatnots, which do one thing really specifically. And that's not unfair, because by and large, when you sort of do this mix of gameplay, more often than not, some of it suffers because you're not focusing on one thing. And so all of it could be a little bit better, and you're just sort of thinly spread. And that really doesn't feel like the case here. This has a surprising amount of variance, and yet it all works. Like, it's all I would recommend any of it. And yet, at the same time, because it does shake it up as the game goes along, and it switches between the town sections to the platforming sections and the boss fights, it keeps it from getting stale. Because I think if it had been only one of those styles, if it had only been an action platformer, or if it had only been the sort of Final Fight style thing, I probably wouldn't love it the way that I love it now. It's the pacing of that feels perfect. Feels absolutely perfect to break up these sections with this other section and just keep it fun and fresh, and it makes you want to see the next section, not just because, you know, what will the new enemies be, what will the new platforming challenges be. It's like, well, what's the new contrast going to be? You know, it's like, well, what's the town going to be like? Then what's the platforming going to be? It's like a whole new world of things to see and open up with each new setting. And the settings aren't even that drastically different. It's like you're in a town, you're in a carnival, you're in another town, you're in the woods, you're on a lake. You know, they're not that drastic in shifting and changes, but it still feels like it shakes it up each time, just because of the added change that the gameplay switch has. I love this game, and I get the sense that it's pretty well loved among a certain section of people. I just don't know if it's up there with the majority of folks my age, of Super Nintendo gamers. But I love the heck out of this game. I truly have nothing to complain about with this game. I love it. And I think Legend of the Mystical Ninja is just awesome. So, have you ever played this game? What are your thoughts on it? If you haven't played it, what is your own personal sort of multiple style of levels of gameplay type game? I mean, some other things off the top of my head. ActRaiser, the first one, be another good example of something like this. So, do you have a favorite game like that? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. There's stuff to do. You know what it is. There's buttons and there's links and there's things. There's a Patreon. That's all down in the description. So check it out if you want to. And remember, folks, you are the council. I just run the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. Yes? What's up?
I want to see the thing I made with the...
Oh, is that your slime?
It's putty.
Oh.
Don't touch it.
Is it a turtle?
No, it's a dog.
Oh, it's a dog. Is this the head?
It's lying down. Yep.
Oh,
There's the ears and
he's so chubby.
the tail. There's the little legs.
Now, does it glow in the dark?
Yeah.
Cool. Nice work.
If you want to try to see it in the closet, I can hold the plate out in the closet and see if it glows.
Oh, hold on. Can I show people this?
Yeah.
So this is the putty dog laying on its stomach.
Head. Those are the legs. That's the tail.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, let's check it out in the closet real quick.